What's going on, guys? Danny from Slow Restoration, and I don't seem to be able to help myself. So we talked to the sandblasters. They can fit this stuff in. My springs, actually I already took the sway bars and the cross member and the rear differential. He can fit all this in today, have it blasted, and we get it painted. So all this has turned out so nice. I just can't stand to not take that extra step and do this. Way more than needed, but let's get over there and get this stuff done. We got those parts dropped off to the sandblasters. They should come back looking good enough to paint, so we'll get those primered and painted, and that'll definitely sweeten this whole project up. I just couldn't stand it. The rest of this is looking so good. We just had to do it. So anyway, I think probably the next step is going to be I think we're finished mocking this up, so we're going to pull the motor and trans back out. I did take the cross member too to get it sandblasted. So we'll get motor and trans pulled back out. We'll get our brake lines installed as much as we can, and probably paint the transmission, and probably clean up some, and hopefully get the motor painted too. So we'll see how far we get, and we still have to go pick up the parts from the sandblasters when they come back in. So let's get started. Oh, I also had to run out and get fuel for the heater too, because it's cold out. Cold, and it's still pretty windy. So, all right, we're working on the brake lines here. I wanted to mock this up a little bit further before we went ahead and pulled the motor out. I did get the headers off. So I was getting ready to pull the motor and decided to mock these lines up a little bit more, just in case I needed the motor and headers in there for fitment. Anyway, they did help us out a little bit by putting different end caps. Like that one's brown. Oh, I took that one off, but that side is red. I'll show you on a different line. That side's brown, that side's red. So that side will go to the ABS control module. That one goes to a different, it connects to another line. So they did help us out a little bit by putting different colored caps on. The problem I'm running into, this is a complete brake line kit. Complete kit, but they do not send the unions to connect these two lines, which is kind of dumb. I mean, this kit wasn't exactly cheap, and it just kind of baffles me you would actually cheap out and not send those lines. That's the first issue I ran into, or unions rather. That is the first issue I ran into. The second and probably most important issue is I can buy those unions. They're not that expensive. But the biggest issue I'm running into is this line goes on the front wheel like that. And as you can see, if you do that, it's pointing straight back into the firewall. These lines all point straight over towards the wheel to the ABS control module. And again, that's not a major issue. Sometimes these get bent in shipment, or they're just not quite right. We could tweak that over. So even if we got that around 90 degrees to there, the biggest issue of all is look at the line size. So this is the tube we're working on. It's 1/4 inch on the new, it's 3/16 on the old, and the fitting. Obviously that fitting is very different. The thread's not the same, and the diameter of the fitting is not the same. It is, however, excuse me, the same as the front to back line. See, those threads match up perfectly, and the fitting size is the same. So further inspection, I guess GM, in trying to ease installation on the line, made all three of these lines with a different size tube nut, which is fine. So that way you can't mix up these lines. Your front right, your front left, and your rear all have a dedicated port out of the ABS control module, which is a good idea. Unfortunately, when they made these lines, they put all the same size nut on all three of these lines. So obviously that's not going to work. And I'm not quite sure, this has to seat in the ABS control module. You can see that's a 3/16 line. that's the 1/4 inch line. They're different where they seat. So these lines are supposed to be the same, and you can see the line size difference. So even if that did thread in there, I don't believe it's going to seat in that ABS control module. So I do have a call in. I sent them pictures of this stuff. They weren't sure. They have to have a guy check it out. And they did check into unions and pretty much said, sorry, they don't send them. So I'm not sure. It's a shame because these lines are very nice. Maybe I'm missing something, but I mean, I think it's kind of black and white as far as that goes. That fitting is not going into where that fitting came out of. They did send some adapter lines. But I believe these are actually for the master cylinder to ABS fittings. They sent these braided stainless, and if you compare these to the original has a 90-degree end on it, which would pretty much be the way that is. So I believe that, and they have male female ends on them, which would correspond to the AN fitting on these lines. So these fittings are for the master cylinder to ABS control module, and these lines are just wrong, unfortunately. The front to back is correct. It's the right size tube nut, the right size tubing. The two front, as it stands right now, are incorrect. So I don't know. We'll hear back from them and see what they can come up with. Obviously, I'm not the only customer they're dealing with, so it is Friday and I'm trying to get this stuff done. We're not really pressed. It's not like we have to drive this thing tomorrow morning. So, but I asked for time frame and they said probably Monday morning to get back with me. So that kind of sucks too. But it is what it is. That's just the setbacks you have when you do a frame off build. All right, we're getting our motor and trans prepped here. We're gonna paint the trans first, and I'm not worried about overspray on the motor, so we'll just leave it bolted to it. Be a nice way of getting all the way around it. Once it's dry, we'll pull it off, and then the motor is gonna be a different color, so we'll worry about that then. We did put our old pan back on to keep overspray off from inside the motor, and dirt out, of course. But so we'll tape up these sensors and blow this off and wire brush it a little bit, and we'll be ready for that. And we pulled our trans mount off, and obviously we're gonna have to replace it. As you can see, it's broke, so we'll have to get a polyurethane mount for that. We did pick our stuff up from our sandblasters. We got our cross member blasted here. It's looking good. This is pretty strong here, but I wanted to strengthen it up a little bit more. So they're also a welding shop, so they cut me a plate of steel, 3/8, and we're gonna put that right on there and stitch that on. So that'll go right over where we made our cut. This side I'm not worried about. There's still enough meat there of the factory cross member. It's plenty strong. This side, just because it's pretty thin there, you can actually see on the inside there how close that plate comes down. So just to make it a little extra strong. We got our transmission sprayed here. Tape the sticker up just in case we need any parts in the future. Again, we're not worried about overspray on the motor because we're pulling the trans back off, and we're gonna paint the motor anyway. So nice even coat of paint on it. We didn't spend a lot of time. We don't know how long it's gonna live behind this motor, so it looks good for now. We have this plate laid out on our cross member. We're getting ready to weld it up now. We got the plate welded on. That should definitely strengthen it. Like I said, there should be no issues with flex with that on there. That's a 3/8 piece of steel on the bottom there, strengthening that whole section. So we're good with that. We did get the transmission taken back off. Now we can prep the motor, get it painted, change that flex plate off for the flywheel. And we did, by the way, get a clutch kit in. Transmission's sitting over here. We have the flywheel, clutch disc, clutch pressure plate, all that good stuff. So we can get all that swapped over. Like I said, get the motor painted, and then we can also get that new oil pan swapped back on with all the new parts, the windage tray, and dipstick tube, and the oil pickup tube that goes along with it. So we got a lot to do. We got a few more parts painted. We got our upper ball joints painted. We'll get them installed. The upper A-arms are off for right now, but we'll get these installed in them, and then A-arms installed. We did get the lower A-arms painted, and they're kind of loosely on there for right now until we get the springs in. They look good. We went ahead and did them frame color. Alright guys, I think that's going to do it for today. It's cold out here again. The wind finally did die down, but in the evenings it gets really difficult to keep the garage heated, so we'll probably wait till tomorrow and do some more of this. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good day.